and a really good vision of the downs as well, which I think a lot of people don't share. So I'll take you through my journey, and PowerPoint won't let me change. Right. So hey, so how it all started. I think I started swimming when I was 6. I think I joined the swimming club. You can see me down there on the front row. That's actually Luke Greenbank, who's next to me. So I swam with Luke since he was 8, and I was 8, so he was 9. So if you don't know Luke, he was we've had Luke on, like Ben mentioned. So we trained together at a tiny club. All those people there was probably about half of the swimming club where we were from. It's a tiny club called Cockermouth, right up in Cumbria, which I don't know if any of you know, but if you go to the Edinburgh International meet or anything like that, you probably pass through it. It's right on the border of Scotland, but all the coaches there were voluntary. No one was paid to coach. And it was all people who just loved swimming and loved helping people to swim. Like I said, the club probably had about 40 swimmers tops. And yeah, I just started swimming when I was about 6 years old, and just carried on through the sport. I absolutely loved it. I loved swimming. I loved being in the water. I think I was always naturally a breaststroker, but as I'm sure Ben says to everyone all the time, you got to race everything. But definitely took a taking to breaststroke. I think one of the key things that is really important about my story is I can guarantee you there is no one here who was lazier swimmer than I was. When I say I was at the back of the lane, every single time I could get out for cramp, I was out. Every single time I could say that I was tired, I need to miss training, I got cold, anything I could do, I'd be out. I loved swimming, I loved being in the pool, but the hard work, training, stuff like that was not for me at all. And anytime you're at training and you're complaining about someone at the back of the lane to your mates, I was 10 times worse than that, I can promise you. But yeah, we had a really good club, and the coach who's there at the minute, called Sean, he kind of changed the club in a big way. He kind of came in with a new attitude and helped people to start really improving. And I had a really good age group. Like I said, there was Luke there who, we started training together very young. But then as we got better and better, more and more swimmers from clubs all around the county started to come. People traveling, half an hour, hour and a half to train with us, a tiny little club with a 4-lane, 25-meter pool. We was actually described by an England talent officer as one of the top 10 worst facilities they'd ever seen in their life. So if you ever complain about a bad facility, then it can happen. But yeah, so there was kind of a group of swimmers around my age who started doing really, really well. So Luke started breaking British records, I think when he was 12 or 13, winning nationals. There's probably about 10 people from a club of 40 who were going to British nationals every single year, making finals. Probably 5 of them were medaling. I think there was 2 or 3 that were winning nationals every single year. And like I said, I just didn't care, really didn't care at all about swimming and performing. But then as it went on, and a couple of years later, I kind of thought, well, why can't I do it? And I kind of wanted a piece of it. So this is when I get to a very cliche bit, which is the moment. So I can remember it. It's really cheesy. It's awful. But I was 13 and I went into training on a Sunday afternoon. I think we had 10 or 15 200 breaststroke. I just thought to myself, I'm going to go as hard as I possibly can here. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to see if I like it. I'm going to see what happens. I can remember I was lying on the side. I was absolutely knackered. It felt like I was literally going to die. And I can remember the moment I walked out the doors and I thought, there's no one in my lane. And I said, take away the lane. There's no one in the pool there who can have possibly swum as hard as I swam. I thought, actually, I can't see anyone, let alone a county, let alone a country. I can't see anyone in the world that can have gone as hard as I went that day. And I didn't think it was possible to train as hard as I trained. And that was kind of the moment for me where my whole kind of journey changed. I thought, well, if I do that today, why can't I do it tomorrow, week after that, the month after that, the year after that? And we can see what happened. So I just want to give a bit of context in terms of what that moment meant. So that happened in about October, November. This is from regionals. This is June, the first photo. As you can see, I finished 5th. I was 13. It's 200 breaststroke and I went 250. Everyone's covering my next slide, but I think that is less than a year later. It was at nationals and I went 231 and I finished 5th in nationals. So I went from 13 years old, not caring about training, hating it, going 250 to 6 months it was from when I made that decision, that moment, to my first national championships. I dropped 19 seconds. I went from 5th in the region to 5th in nationals. And to a lot of people around my age group, or the guys I was around with at training, that's nothing special. They were winning nationals, they were making national finals, but I'm not a very big guy. I'm pretty small, but I was always pretty technically talented. But yeah, I just thought, if I've gone from 5th in the region It's 5th in the country. Why can't we keep going? So that for me was kind of a big indicator. And I was a complete coach's pet, and I'm sure you guys probably hate when people are at the back, and you probably hate when people are at the front saying to Ben how great they are and what can I do. But that was literally change. I went from one day from not doing anything to doing absolutely everything I could. When I say everything my coach ever asked me of, I would do, and I'd go above and beyond. If that was 4 20-minute times doing the core circuit at night at home on your own, I'd do 4, I'd do 5, I'd do as much as I possibly could, because this was what I'd seen. My concept of working really hard was a 19-second drop in 5 months of training, 6 months of training, I think that was. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not a very, very tall guy. My coach always used to say to me, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Believe it or not, we were all 15 in this photo. I don't know if Ben remembers this guy, but I'm sure a lot of you guys won't. This guy in the middle is called Charlie Atwood, and he was, when I say he was taking our age group by storm. He was breaking British records by 5-10 seconds on a 200 breaststroke. He was 6'4" when we were 14, and I was probably about there 5'4". So, and my coach always said the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So, for everyone out there who's saying, everyone's bigger than me, they're swimming faster than me, it does come, but some things like that take time. Swimming meant everything to me. I was homeschooled from a young age, from year 3, I think it was. So, and like I said, I love being in the water. And when I went to this moment, that was all I wanted to do, was swim and swim. And I absolutely loved it more than anything else. And yeah, so when this kind of moment happened, it was like, this is all I ever wanted to do. And from then I wanted to be a professional swimmer. That's all I ever wanted to do. And going through my junior years, it really started to come to me. So in 2015, I went to the British Championships, and in the heats of the 200 breaststroke, I was next to Adam Peaty. He went, 2:09, I think. I was 16. I went I didn't actually know him at this time. I went 2:16.0, which was my first ever British record. I was absolutely buzzing. I remember I looked over into the crowd. I could see my coach just going mental. It was like, that was a massive moment for me. And to me, that was the first time I was like, this is in 3 years of working as hard as I possibly can, and the fastest this country's ever had. And that was a massive moment to me, because everything I put into it, that was the first time I'd kind of stepped back and gone, this is what it's for, this is what it's about. I went towards the final that night, and I was trying to qualify for European Juniors, as I'm sure a lot of you guys probably are trying to or aspire to in a couple of years. And there's 2 spaces that get to go, and there's double age group, as I'm sure you guys know as well. But I was the very bottom end of the age group, and I was going into the final second fastest, British record in the morning. I was absolutely buzzing. This lad, Charlie, who I mentioned earlier, I knew he was kind of going to win. It was pretty obvious he was going to win. Went into the final, went pretty much exactly the same time. I think I was 0.1 slower. And a guy called Luke Davis from Birmingham went a second quicker than me. Same thing. He was about the same height as Charlie. He was a massive guy, a couple of years older than me. And I remember I finished, and this best day of my life that my whole swimming career had kind of built up to at that time was completely ruined, because this competition I wanted to qualify for, it was actually the European Games that year. So it was a massive event rather than just the swimming. It was multi-sport. It was a massive thing with Team GB, and I didn't qualify, and that really, really hurt me. My friends had, Luke the year before had won European Juniors. He actually went on to break a world junior record at this competition that I was trying to qualify for. So for me, that was all I've been working towards. And I remember I'd gone back home, and you get a certain amount of wild cards. As I said, I was in the bottom age group. I'd made the qualifying time by 3 seconds. I'd broken the British record by 2 seconds. And I was like, deep down in my heart, I was thinking, they're going to give me a wild card next year, a bit of experience. I might only get to race the heats here, but next year it'll give me a bit of experience. So I remember when the team was announced and I didn't get a wild card, I was just absolutely devastated. I cried and cried and cried. I think I was 16, 17 years old, and it was literally awful. But then off the back of that, funnily enough, the lad who was called Luke Davis, who went to European Games, actually broke his ankle at the European Games. He'd finished racing and he was playing basketball. He landed on his ankle and he broke it. And off the back of that, he wasn't selected for the Youth Commonwealth Games, which was being held later that year, and I was. So I guess there's a cloud to every silver lining to every cloud. But yeah, so I was selected to swim at the Youth Commonwealth Games, which was in Samoa. That's actually the furthest point you can possibly get away from England. So it's literally, you can fly past America, or you can fly past Europe, and it takes the same amount of time to get there. I think it was 28 hours of traveling or maybe even more than that. So yeah, that was absolutely incredible. And as you can see from that photo in the middle, I won the 200 breaststroke, and I get a second in the 100 breaststroke, and we came third in the 4x1 medley relay. So for me, that was kind of a massive turnaround. You know, I've had the best day of my life to break a British record, turned to the worst day by, you know, not qualifying for the European Games. Later that year, qualifying for Commonwealth Games, Youth Commonwealth Games, and winning that. Off the back of that, I was selected for British Swimming World Class Programme. And you know, that was massive for me. I was from a single parent background. My family aren't very wealthy at all. My younger brother's disabled, so my mum couldn't work. She's a full-time carer for him. So for me, having, you know, a little bit of funding from British Swimming was absolutely massive, and it was really vital for me. So then, as we move on, this is kind of through this point in my life. These are the moments that made that, you know, the kind of hard work worth it. I remember when I got my first national medal, was a massive thing for me. I was 16 and I was absolutely buzzing. That photo on the right is, like I said, we were from a 40 swimmers I think we had in the club. That's me, a lad called Oliver, Luke Greenbank in the middle, and then a lad called Charlie on the end. And we came second in the open medley relay of British Nationals, which for us was like, it was crazy because a tenth of the swimmers in the whole club were the same age group, a set of lads. Oliver, I think, went 5,700 back in the relay. I went 6,200 breast. Luke did fly at the time. I think he went 53.400 fly. And then our freestyle lad, I think, went 54, 53. So he let us down by far, but I think we beat Plymouth Leander B team. We beat Millfield, all these kind of massive programs. You know, 4 young lads who, you know, trained, had a bit of a laugh. And on Saturday afternoon, after training, walked into town and got chips and curry sauce with, it was quite special for us to kind of go and do that, which was really nice because that's what our club was about. It was about a tiny club. We swam because we loved it. No coaches were paid. They did it because they wanted to. And we managed to come together and do a really cool swim. But yeah, so leading up to this point, these were the kind of moments that made the whole journey worth it. So as we move on to 2016, like I said, I had an amazing coach, and he kind of said to myself and Luke, if we want to kind of take our swimming to a senior level, if we want to do a little bit more, we're going to have to move on to a different program. Said he wouldn't be able to do what we needed to do if we wanted to perform on a senior level, which is really hard for coaches. You know, I know Ben's amazing at that. He passed a lot of swimmers on to different universities. I know loads of guys are at Loughborough, but as a coach, to see your swimmers grow up, you know, they win national medals with you, and then to say, you know, go to a different program, guys, that's really, really hard. So I think for us, our coach to kind of proactively look for different clubs for us was really special. We looked at Stockport. We used to train with them quite a bit. We looked at Stirling. And then as Adam started to get quite good, Mel said, the lads can come down for a weekend. In 2015, in July, I think it was, we went down for a weekend, and she says, in January, we're going to Australia for 6 weeks if you fancy coming. And I was 17 at the time. I was kind of like, yeah, don't see why not. But yeah, so in January 2016, I was 17. I went to Australia for 6 or 7 weeks, I think it was. And for me, this was when I became who I am today. I'm a very expressive person. I kind of speak my mind. I'm very open. And I feel like at the club I was at was, you know, it was a very kind, a very, you know, a very small, just homely club. And, you know, I think I felt quite suppressed there. When we went to Australia, I obviously got to really know Adam. There's a lad called Brad Lynch and a lad called Brad Westlake, who is still my best friends to this day. And those 3 lads and myself, we came together and we just bounced off each other. You know, every day in training, we'll be at each other's necks. We'll be absolutely going for each other. You know, whatever you've said to your friends in training, I guarantee we were being awful to each other, but we just bounced off each other so well, and we just had such a laugh. I always say, me and Adam always say, we actually don't know how he won the Olympics in 2016 because we had no idea what was going on. We were making cakes every weekend. We were doing literally stuff you would never imagine we were doing. We were young lads. Adam was 21. The other lads were both 21, and I was only 17. And we were just having the best time of our life. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. You know, swimming it's a short journey. It goes really fast. You've got to have fun and you got to enjoy it more than anything. So yes, we went to Australia in January. Then we went on to the Olympic trials in April, where I qualified for the European Juniors. This time around, I actually managed to make it. Didn't do an amazing time. I was just quicker than my best in qualifying. And then, you know, I had an amazing lead into European Juniors. I went to Tenerife. There was only myself, Adam, Sarah Vasey and Harriet Cooper, who you guys won't know, went to Tenerife. There was 4 of us. Actually, really funny story. So this was 2 months, I think, before the Olympic Games. And these scooters were on here. You could rent these in Tenerife. And Mel, the coach, said, right, we're going to rent these scooters. And we'd had a really hard week. We're going to rent them Saturday night. We're going to go over the island. We're going to get dinner. And then we're going to, and then we'll have a nice time. We'll relax a bit. So me and Adam were on his scooter. And on the way back, Mel's a very, very competitive person. She said it was about a 40-minute journey on these scooters. And me and Adam had already been stopped because we hit 30 miles an hour in these scooters, which is just ridiculous. We were going downhill, which is absolutely ridiculous in the middle of town. So Mel said, right, race, whoever's back first wins. So we absolutely flew off on these scooters and we'd gone the wrong way. And there was a really bendy path that we were meant to go up. And I was driving and I turned this corner and Adam's knee had gone against the wall. It was like a brick wall and his, obviously breaststroke knees are quite important. His knee went against the wall. And he was like, Ed, stop. And I just kept on going. He was like, Ed, stop. You've got to stop. And I just kept on going. And we just went round. We eventually won. And we got back and Adam's knee was all cut open. And he was like, I'm trying to win the Olympics. And in 2 months and my knee's battered, which was really irresponsible. But like I said, we were having fun and we were having a good laugh. But yeah, so I went to European Juniors and I think I was entered, 5th or 6th. And in the heat of the 200 breaststroke, I went in and I did similar kind of time to my best. And I remember I got out and could barely walk. I was like, oh my God, that was so hard. I was like, I don't know if I got anything else. A couple of weeks, I think 3 weeks before this, I'd gone a 2:19 at one of the Mare Nostrum meets. And my best was 2:15. I remember I'd said to a coach, like, what am I going to do? I'm 4 seconds away from my best and I'm racing in 3 weeks. And I wanted to win European Juniors. And my coach was like, no, it's all right, I'll come. So I'd gone pretty much on my best time in the heats. Anyway, I went back to the hotel, had a nap, went for the semi-final. And I remember I was in the second semi-final. Every single person barring one in the first semi-final went quicker than I'd gone in the heats. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I've gone from wanting to win this to, am I even going to make the final? I dropped 2.5, nearly 3 seconds in the semi-final. I finished just behind the Russian lad. I went 2:13.0, I think it was. And that was second fastest of the whole night. So I went back to the hotel. I was absolutely buzzing. Dropped 3 seconds off my best, and I was really ready for the final the next day. I woke up the next day. I'd done my full swim down. I'd eaten really well. I'd gone to bed early. I woke up the next day for the final, and my legs were absolutely battered. And I remember I woke up. I was like, "What is wrong with me?" I stretched off all morning. I went for a walk. I went for a swim. I was trying to do everything I could. I remember I turned up for the final. And I was just like, there's something wrong. I was like, what is wrong? My leg, I can't feel my legs at all. And look, I'm back on it. In simple terms, I bottled it. I was a young lad. It meant the absolute world to me, winning European Juniors. My funding relied on me getting a medal. I had to get a medal to stay on British Swimming funding. And like I said, that was vital for me to be able to afford to swim, and I bottled it. There was nothing wrong with me. I just woke up and it was nerves. So I finished 5th. I went similar. I went 2:14.5. So the second half slower than the night before. If I'd gone the same time as I'd gone the night before, I think I'd have finished second. So yeah, I remember I went back and I was just absolutely devastated. I didn't know what to do. After European Juniors, fortunately, I managed to stay on British Swimming funding. They decided to fund me for another year. And this, I don't know what the next slide is, but yeah. So that was my last year as a junior, and this is where I went into being a senior swimmer. I think swimming's a really hard one. In athletics or a lot of other sports, you get under 19s, under 21s, under 23s. And it's a really gradual step. You can kind of work up through the age groups. But in swimming, you're 18, then you get thrown into senior swimming, and that can go really well, or it can be really hard. And as I'm sure all you guys know, there's 2 places that are picked for a team, whether that's a World Championships, a Europeans, a Olympic Games. And in our country, we've got Adam, who's a world record holder, Ross Murdoch, who just won Commonwealth Games, Craig Benson, who's done 2 Olympics, James Wilby, who, the year later won Commonwealth Games. So before I can even get a chance of getting onto a team, 2 of those guys have to miss out before me. So I was an 18-year-old lad. Like I said, I wasn't physically gifted. I wasn't big. I wasn't tall. And it was really tough. My first year as a senior, I went at best time in April. I went 2:12.5. I don't know if you can see my splits there, but I went out like an absolute madman and absolutely died off in the last 50. If I'd gone the second or third 50 again on the fourth one, I'd have qualified for the World Championships, I think. And I was only 18 years old. So that was the year James Wilby made his first World Championships. I think if I'd I think it was about, if I'd gone the second or third 50 again, I'd have qualified over him. So that was really hard, but I was really positive leaving the meet because I was like, look, I've got 150 to sort out. I'm on world-class pace. I'm 18 years old. I've just got that last 50 to work out for. I went to a meet in June in Rome, which was the most beautiful meet. If any of you ever get to the chance to go to Rome, it is the best swimming pool in the world.
That's Collie.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. It's the best pool I've ever seen. I went there and it took my breath away. It was just beautiful. And I went there and I swam absolutely dreadfully. I think I went 2:22 for 200 breaststroke or 2:20. So 10 seconds slower than I'd gone in April. Came back the next 4 weeks. I was in bed, couldn't move, literally couldn't get out of bed. I was absolutely dying. I think I lost 6 kilos in muscle mass. I don't know what I had. I think I had corona 4 years early or 3 years early, but I was so ill. And I got back into training 3 weeks out of nationals. And at nationals, I went 2:14. So, I was pretty upset because it was 2 seconds slower than I got in April, but I had 4 weeks off training. I'd lost 6 kilograms of muscle and I'd still managed to not in a race, but do all right. Everyone else who was around my age group had been slower than me. So I was the fastest one in my age group. But I don't know if you guys know, but, for us, I'll go back. For us, it's, you've got to get quicker from summer. You swim in April and the goal is you get quicker. And I didn't get quicker. So I kind of left thinking, I'm going to be off British Swimming funding here. I'm going to lose my funding. I did get the letter through saying I'd lost my funding. And I remember I texted, there was 3 lads around my age group. They were all older than me, but I'd been quicker than them all year. And I texted them, I was like, oh, absolutely gutted. Like, hope you lads are all right, whatever. And every single one of them individually texted me back and said, I'm still on. And I was like, hold on a second. So I remember I spoke to Mel, my coach. I said, look, there's 4 of us. I'm the quickest one all year. I've always been slower than these guys. This is the first year I've ever beaten them. And I now get cut from funding. I said, I don't understand this. Can I get the chance to speak to the guys who are choosing this? I remember I sat down with Tim Jones. I don't know if any of you know him, but he kind of chooses who goes on funding for a younger age group. I sat down with him and I said, I don't understand, from 16 years old, you funded me because you think I can win an Olympic medal. I've had a really good time drop. I got really ill, but I'm still quicker than everyone else. You're deciding to still fund. I don't get the logic. They opened a really big book, which was all the data he ever had on me, all about my swimming, everything, how tall my parents were. I don't know my dad. So, how tall your mum is, and there was a line, it said 170 to 180. It was all in red and 174 was circled. They said, do you know what 174 means? I said, no. He said, this is how tall you are in centimeters. I said, okay. He said, you can see it's all in red. Every single number was in red. I said, okay. He turned the page. It went from 180 to 190 and it gradually turned from red into orange into green. He said, green is the optimal height for a 200 breaststroker. I said, okay. So he said, this is why we've decided to, one of the factors that's decided that you won't be funded anymore. So I said, hold on a second. So I'm in 2 seconds quicker than everyone else you're funding, but I'm 8 inches shorter than them. I said, the greatest breaststroker of all time is a Japanese guy. He was only 2 inches taller than I was. I said, I'm swimming 2 seconds quicker, but I'm shorter. And you've decided to fund people from this. I said some very explicit words, which I wouldn't repeat here. And I walked out and swimming meant everything to me. So for the guys who are the experts in the area to then say, I can't do this, being completely honest, it broke my heart and it made me, I love swimming more than anything else. There's no one who's ever, I couldn't ever say someone works harder than me. I put everything into it and I dedicated my life to swimming. So for those guys to say, you won't do it was really hard. And it made me absolutely hate swimming more than anything else on this planet. The next year or so, I hated swimming more than anything. Every time I turned up to training, I didn't want to be there. And in 2018, I said to Mel, I'd swum at a meet and I'd swum really bad. It was meant to be my tapered meet. I just remember I said to Mel, I'm not going to do this anymore. I hate it. It's making me feel absolutely horrendous every day. I feel really, really depressed, and I hate swimming. I hate life in general. And Mel said to me, she looked at me and she said, I'm not going to let you stop. And I was like, no, Mel. I was like, I hate it. I don't want to. And she said, the way you're speaking to me, the amount of emotion you've got for this means that you're not done here. You've still got more to do. It still means too much to you. And I absolutely hated her. I absolutely hated her at the time. And I said, look, I don't want to do it. I spoke to Adam. Adam was also having a really hard time. It was after the Commonwealth Games in 2018. And he said that he couldn't train at Loughborough if I wasn't there. So I said to Adam, I said, look, for you, I'll keep swimming. I'm not doing this for me. I don't care about swimming anymore. I don't like it. But for you as my best friend, I'll keep swimming so that you're happy in this environment. And then a few months later, I finished the season. Same thing again, really bad time. Felt horrendous about swimming. And I worked Mel's summer camp for her. And at the end of the camp, a parent came over to her with their kid and said, Mel, do you do any one-to-one coaching? And she grabbed my arm and she said, no, but Ed does. And they said, okay. And she said, they're £45 an hour. They're here. They're every Sunday. Here's his number. And he'll be in touch with you. And I walked away and I said, Mel, what are you doing? She said, look, you've got your swimming, you've got your coach's course. She said, you've always loved swimming more than anything else. You're technically always so good. You pick up on things in swimming, you watch people and you pick up things that I don't notice sometimes. She said, have a go at this, try it. So I started doing some one-to-one sessions for this girl who was traveling down from Manchester, I think it was. And I just thought, well, she brought a friend one day. So I did 2 sessions one week and I thought, well, I can do a little bit more here. So I remember I put it on my Instagram, started getting a few more people, and I made a website. And over the course of those few months, I found my love for swimming again. And it made me just absolutely love it again, but not from the perspective of me swimming. And in December that year, I was absolutely loving training. I changed the way we were training. I was on a high volume program now. So I was swimming 65K a week, which sounds absolutely dreadful, but it was working. I loved it. I was having a great time. The group I was with was amazing. And I went from hating swimming to later that year going 206 for 200 breaststroke short course when I was 19, I think I was. And that was the 4th fastest senior Englishman ever. And for me, I remember I'd been swimming really well. And when I'd been taken off funding, like I said, I wasn't from a wealthy background. My grandparents had remortgaged their house so I could carry on swimming. And that meant everything to me. And I remember just before I was about to go down for the final, I just knew I was going to do it. I remember a text someone just said, this isn't for me at all. And I went 206, which was, like I said, the 4th fastest, senior Englishman ever. I remember I just turned around. I was like, that's it. And that was for me, that was kind of like I was done. I'd been through so much in swimming. I'd found this love for coaching and I'd found a love for this business side of swimming. And that was for me, that was like everything I wanted to do. I didn't go to the Olympics. I didn't win an Olympic medal or go to World Championships, but I proved that I was really good. And I knew if I dedicated my life to swimming moving forwards, I thought there's a chance I could still do it. But I found a passion. I found a love for something else. So for over the next few years, I carried on swimming because I made a promise to Adam and Mel that I would carry on swimming and do it for them and support the group and support the environment. I spoke to the head coach of British Swimming, Bill Furness, and he said, look, Mel's requested that you stay in the centre. I love the way you work in the centre. I love the energy you portray everything we want in an athlete in the centre. So, we're not giving you a space here based on your performance. I don't mind how you swim, but do whatever you need to do. We're happy to support you with whatever you want, but just, you've always got a space here, which was really important. If you're in a British Swimming Centre, it costs £25,000 a year for you to be in the centre, for the time you're in the pool, the physio, all that extra stuff. So although I wasn't being paid to swim, they were still putting a big investment into me just for the energy around the group, which I was really proud of, I think, to kind of say that was me that was helpful with that. So over the next year or so, my business started to really grow, and I was spending my weekends coaching. I'd finish the week on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We'd swim 6 till 8, and Mel would say, guys, I've had a hard week. It's been absolutely brutal. Take the weekend, chill, make sure you get a good recovery. Full well knowing I was going to coach for 8 hours straight on Saturday and 8 hours straight on Sunday, without a break, without having lunch, just straight up and down, 8 different people. And I started getting some of my friends who I really respected as swimmers and technical ability, started getting them down down to coach as well. And it was amazing. You know, some of the results we were seeing made me so proud of what we were doing. And people always say to me, you know, what am I proudest of from my swimming journey? The thing I'm most proud of, I think, is, you know, the way that I worked. You know, like I said, there's no one I can't ever see anyone who's pushed more than I have, and I'm really proud of how hard I work, and that's translated into my life now. And everything I do, I know, you know, I don't want to sound big-headed, but I know I'm going to excel in it from the lessons I've learned through swimming. And people always say, what one moment stood out, but when you know, I'd started my swim clinics and started doing my coaching, I said to Adam, look, let's have a go at this together. Let's see what we can do. So we decided to run our race clinics together. I don't know, we probably saw a couple of you guys in 2019, if anyone came, but we decided to see how it went, and we had 100 swimmers a day, and we sold out the first day in 9 minutes. And we were like, this is pretty special here. So we made sure that we were giving the best thing we ever could. And when people were leaving these clinics, the way people walked out was a view of swimming I've never seen before. Swimming is a boring sport in general. You swim up and down. It's really hard. It's early mornings. It's often late nights, and people don't enjoy it. When we were seeing people leave these clinics and saying, I can't wait to go training, and just seeing the way people went through the day, that's the thing I'm proudest of. You know, when I stood back and saw, you know, 100 swimmers, 200 parents being inspired and loving swimming, that's the thing that I'm most proud of. And that's what I want to do, is I want to change the sport of swimming. And I think that we've got the power to do that. So when it got to COVID last March, I said to Mel, we went into the first lockdown. I said, I think I'm done here, Mel. We'd raced in, I've actually spelled COVID wrong there, COVID. Typing too fast. I said to Mel, you know, I think I'm done with swimming. We raced in Edinburgh, hadn't raced great, and I didn't really care. Swimming had always meant the most thing to me ever. I knew that, you know, I'd gone a time that I wasn't very happy with. I thought, I don't really care about this anymore. You know, my passion is somewhere else. I said to Mel, look, I think I want to stop. And she said, look, you know, when I spoke to you 2 years ago, I wouldn't let you stop. But now the way we're talking about this is the time for you, and you're ready to go now. And she said, would you consider being my assistant? She didn't have an assistant at Loughborough. As I said, she enjoyed having me around in the group, and it was really important for Adam that I was around in his training environment. So she said, you know, would I help her coach? I remember I turned up for training for the first session. And it's a little bit different to the training you guys do. You know, there's often, you know, 5 different sessions going on in a 2-hour session, and Mel's taking all 5. And she's got someone in lane 1 and then someone over in lane 8 at the other end, and she's trying to juggle everything. So being able to work with her was really amazing. But it sounds really good, but it was actually really hard. You know, swimming meant everything to me my whole life. You know, I'd had it taken away. You know, it was my choice, but I decided to stop swimming. We'd planned 40 clinics over the course of last year. We were going to see 4,000 different swimmers. So, you know, from an inspiration point of view, we were going to start to really change the world of swimming. From a financial point of view, we lost a huge amount of money. And I felt like there wasn't really any point in what I was doing. You know, I don't really like the word depression or depressed, but I was waking up regularly every single morning and thinking there's no point in doing anything. And that was really hard, because when swimming's the only thing that was there for you, you know, like I said, you know, my family life isn't amazing. I haven't got a great relationship with a lot of my family, and swimming was almost like the person that was always there for me. So when that's away, you feel very lonely. And, you know, if any of you guys go into owning your own businesses in the future, or anything like that, it's a really lonely road. Like, when everything and all the responsibility is on you, no one understands, no one gets it. You know, it's the same for a lot of coaches. When coaches are waking up at 4 a.m. and then they're going to see their friends, you know, perhaps if they get time to see their friends, and they say, oh, it's so hard. And their friends say, yeah, I know it's really hard. They don't get it. And it can get really lonely. And I had a really hard time around October last year. I remember I was in the car with, I'd been out for dinner with Adam, James Guy, and another friend. And me and Adam had a huge petty argument on the way home. And he said, right, what's wrong? Because this ain't us. We don't argue like this. And I broke down in tears, and I just said, I don't want to, there's no point. I don't see what my purpose is in life anymore. I was always a swimmer, and that's what I always did. I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. And And, you know, that went into Jimmy, who I know you guys spoke to him the other day. He's the softest person you'd ever meet. He started crying. Adam started crying, and our mate started crying. And it was just like, it was really powerful to kind of have my friends around me, you know, kind of giving me some advice and what to do. And now, you know, I feel like I've got to a point, you know, a year after I finished swimming, I'm now starting to feel like I found my feet and I'm found where we're going. And it takes a long time, you know. When you stop swimming, it means everything to you. So it can be really difficult, but I'm fortunate that I've got a really great group of friends. You know, I'm really fortunate to have worked with Mel for a number of years now, and she's been amazing. And I've got a really good group of friends around me. What is next for me? So, like I said, a lot of you guys may have come to the race clinics last year. Some of you guys might do our online thing. We've got a platform that we built through lockdown, which is, you know, a kind of educational thing for swimmers, which we think, you know, is really powerful. And if a swimmer follows that, they'll kind of understand what they're doing a lot more. No one likes turning up for training and doing 10-400s, but often it needs to be done, and it's really powerful for swimmers to understand why that needs to be done. And we're also working on 6 other projects at the minute. So our goal, you know, what we're doing with Adam is we want to change the sport of swimming. You know, you guys race at counties, you race at regionals, some of you will go to nationals and perhaps make European juniors or something like that. Or you might not realize it's been like that for the last 60 years. So people who, you know, your mums, dads, if they swam, your grandparents, if they swam, they'll have done the same thing. They'll have gone counties, regionals, nationals, maybe an international meet. And we're ready for that to change. So we're going to try and change the sport. We're going to try and make it more exciting for you guys. We're going to try and, you know, change what we think is possible. You know, sports around the world are changing. Sports do an amazing job and swimming doesn't at the minute. So we're really passionate about changing the sport of swimming. But yeah, that's kind of my story, where we're at, what I've done. But yeah, any questions you guys have got?
I'll just check in the chat. All right, guys. Anyone got any questions before I take over? I definitely don't want to take over. Okay, Jess, do you want to ask your question?
With all the downfalls you've been through an experience, what did you find kept you going, kept you on track, if you get what I mean?
I don't really know. To be honest, the first time I said I wanted to stop swimming was because the thing that kept me going was that Adam had asked me to. I'd gone from just before 2016 Olympics with him. We have such a good bond, and I think to go through an Olympic cycle with your best friend when they're trying to win in 2016, to try and win and change the sport again in the next few years, I think, you know, who gets to do that? That's 1 in a billion chance that you ever get to do that. So I think for that experience, I wanted to experience that. I love swimming. I did love swimming, and all the times where I hated it, you know, it was still a thing that was always there for me. Like I said, my family life isn't great. So whatever was going on there, that's where I went. That's what I did, and that's what made me feel better, if that makes sense. But that's probably what I'd say.
Okay, a couple more questions coming in. Bear with me, mate. Kian, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Did you ever get any injuries that knocked your confidence or affected the way you see swimming?
I was actually very fortunate. I never had any serious injuries. And I think that's probably due to the fact that I was, like I said, anything my coach ever asked me to do, I did like that, and I did it, you know, as much as I could. If he said stretch for 20 minutes a night so you don't get injured, stretch for half an hour a night. You know, I was really careful. I did actually have a really bad back at one point. I was doing a back squat. I think I was 19. I went to the bottom of my back squat and it felt like I broke my spine. But that took a few weeks to get a little bit better, and I had to be really careful about that moving forward. If I ever went really heavy in squats again, you know, it often really hurt. But yeah, nothing ever really serious like you often hear about. I was quite fortunate.
Cool. Beth, would you like to unmute yourself, mate?
So how did you find the transition from going from a junior to a senior? Because so many athletes say that it is such a big jump, but did you actually find that it was a big jump?
Yes. I think I was in a very, very different position to a lot of you guys will be in, because, you know, like I said, we had, before I could even think about making a team, either the Olympic champion, the Commonwealth champion, an Olympian, or another Commonwealth champion has to miss out. Two of them have to miss out before me. So I think, breaststroke in this country at the time was absolutely insane. So it was really hard. One of the things we're trying to work on the most is bridge that gap. We're gonna hopefully provide a lot more opportunities for guys that are going between junior and senior to have fun, race, do what they want to do, and make that jump a little bit easier. But it is really hard. But I think if I was going the times I was going in any other event, proportionally to the world record, I'd have been one of the quickest in Britain, and I'd be making a world championship team at the time. So I was unlucky in the fact it was breaststroke, but life happens, doesn't it?
Beth's actually in a very similar seat to you, mate. She's actually fastest in the country in her age on 200 breaststroke, but obviously those 200 breaststroke girls right now are, they're the cream. So she's transitioning.
Abby when Abby comes on, then.
yeah, exactly that. Okay, Francis, where are you, Francis? Got a good question.
What's your favourite pool you've ever trained in?
Trained in Australia. I've been to Australia 3 times now on the Gold Coast. It's actually the pool where the Commonwealth Games was in 2018, but I've trained in there, 3 times I've been, and each time's been for at least 6 weeks. And that is, you can't go wrong really. The sun is 35 degrees by 6, you get woken up by the sun at 6 a.m. because it's coming through the curtains. It's absolutely beautiful. The pool I mentioned earlier in Rome to race in is the best pool I've ever raced in. It's absolutely beautiful. I've never been to a swimming pool that's taken my breath away. Apart from that pool, it's absolutely stunning. If anyone ever gets to go to Rome, go and see that pool.
It's a stunning environment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm interested. Is that pool outdoors, Ed, the one in Australia? Oh, I'm breaking down. Sorry,
yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah, the Gold Coast one's outdoors, yeah.
Okay. Because these guys are going to get to swim outdoors soon. But not quite as nice, not quite as warm.
You're going to
in the Lido.
Oh yeah, get up there.
You're good. Okay, Charlie, where are you, mate? Got a good question from Charlie.
What's your favourite stroke?
Breaststroke. Always. Absolute backstroke is absolutely shocking. Honestly, you don't want to see it. It's like you'd look at me and you think I was, honestly, you really wouldn't want to see the backstroke. Always breaststroke. But obviously I trained everything, and obviously a lot of freestyle as well. Everyone trains a lot of freestyle.
Did you do a lot of medley, Ed? Just out of interest.
Yeah, growing up, yeah. If you guys ever get bored doing sessions, if you ever do the same session or anything like that, me and Luke at our old club, we used to do, we'd do a month of sessions. Every single month was exactly the same. It never, ever, ever changed. We did this, I've probably done the same session 12 times a year. Over 100 times, I've done the same session every single month in, month out, year in, year out. And it worked really well. So if you guys ever get bored, if you ever think, you shouldn't be training medley, whatever, your coach usually knows best.
I like that message. We'll replay that one many a time. I've got a question. I want to just sneak in right now, Ed, and I'm sorry to throw you a curveball here.
That's all right.
So you spoke about, obviously, your family weren't wealthy. You pretty much had to go through your swimming on a single family support system.
Yeah.
And then you've had great support through likes of Mel and Sean, your coach from Cockermouth.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got your drive from? Because some of the challenges you've been through, some of those ups and downs would have just made anyone quit and everyone go, no, I've had enough, can't do anything on that side.
I think, to be honest, I think part of it's an ego thing, if I'm being completely honest. I think I love the feeling of knowing I've worked so hard that people can't have worked that hard. I'm a massive believer in you get what you work for. I think the harder you work, the better you do. And I think that's general. Being completely honest, the biggest drive for me is my family, but not in a good way. I wouldn't usually go into this kind of thing, but very, very briefly, I'm a massive believer in the way you grow up in your parents and your background. You have a great time and you think that's all I ever want to do. You really look up to them and you aspire to them and you're inspired by them. Or the way you grew up, you think I never want anyone I, have in my family to go through that or to live that way. And that's the way it was for me. So my biggest drive is to be the best I can be and provide the best life I can for my family in whatever sense that may be. So I'm an all out kind of guy. So whether I'm training and I'm getting nothing from it, whether I'm, working and trying to earn money, whether it's trying to change the sport, I'm always going to do the best I ever can because I want to give people what they deserve, I think.
Brilliant. Great message. Just before I pass you on to Poppy, one more from me.
Yeah.
That moment you had at 13 years of age, that moment from sitting at the back of the lane, kind of just doing things to saying, right, I'm going to be the best person. I'm going to train the best every day. What was the trigger? What made you change?
All my friends were going to nationals, and my coach is really good. But I'll still speak to him now, and some of the things he says, I go, oh, I can't believe you're saying that. And he every single day, I know that he sometimes said it, we could hear it. He'd say, lazy at the back of the lane, and I think no one likes being branded as that. And when all your friends are doing it, you want to go to nationals. Why wouldn't you want to go to Sheffield for a week with your mates? Because that's all it was for me. Like I said, we were so unserious about swimming. We went in, we trained really hard, and on a Saturday afternoon, we walked into town, we played football in the park, we got chips and curry sauce, and we went to someone's house and played FIFA. And I think that's what we're part of in training. I wanted to be a part of it in competition as well. So if they're going to nationals, if they're going wherever and they're having a great time, I want to be part of it. I want to do it. And I didn't have anything else. Like I said, I was homeschooled. I sat 2 GCSEs. So I didn't go to uni. I haven't got any A levels. I've only got 2 GCSEs. And when you've got nothing else, you want something, I think. And that's the thing that found me. And like I said, when I had that session where I thought, I don't see how anyone could have gone, I couldn't see it. And I was like, surely if I do that, surely something happens. So it was literally just I want to be part of that. I'll try that and see if it works. And I was fortunate that it did work.
Always explore, keep exploring, eh? Right, Poppy Garrett, got a question for us.
What other things or hobbies did you like to do instead of swimming?
When I was younger, very little. If I'm being completely honest, which I think was a good thing and a bad thing. Like I said, I was obsessed, completely obsessed with swimming, which meant that I loved it more than anything else. And I was prepared to do the extra stuff my coach always asked and prepared to swim as hard as I could. But, like I said, I was taking off funding at 19 years old. And if I had other stuff going on in my life, if I was at uni, if I was doing other things, it would upset me. But that ruined my life at that period in time. So I didn't like doing that much, which is a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because it gives you great focus. But you've always got to have other stuff in your life going on, and that's what I found with coaching. I started coaching. I loved coaching, and my swimming went with itself. I was coaching. I was getting 6 hours sleep a night because I was coaching all the time instead of 8 or 9, and my swimming was getting way quicker. The fastest times I ever swam, apart from when I was a lot younger, the 5 weeks leading into a competition, I swam really fast. I was waking up at 4:30. I was coaching for 2 hours. I was going to train for 2 hours. I was going to the gym for an hour and a half. I was going home to organise the race clinics, going back to the pool to coach. 4 p.m. I'd go back to swim for myself. Then I would go home and carry on organising race clinics. I got 5 hours sleep a night on average for 5 weeks. And that was the best swims I did within 2 years after that. So having that complete distraction from swimming, I'm not saying don't sleep. I'm not saying that. But having that focus away from swimming, that was it for me. So I didn't have that many hobbies. Now, I like to play Xbox with my friends. I don't really have that many hobbies. I like seeing my friends. I like spending quality time with my friends because I don't really get much time to do that. So I just enjoy being with people I enjoy.
Great message. The thing is I often think that the fuller your life, the busier you are, the happier you are, the more you get out of it. So
100%.
Right, guys, any more questions from you? Last chance to get a question out of Ed before we let him go. Thank him for his time.
You can ask anything you want. Don't feel Don't feel embarrassed or anything like that. I can guarantee I've asked stupider questions before.
Okay. We'll take that as that you fulfilled everything. Firstly, Ed, for the guys on the call, Isla wants to know how old you are.
I'm 22.
Bit too old for you, Isla. Honestly.
God.
That's all.
Yeah, I'm 22.
Brilliant. Ed's actually just moved house, so he's actually taken time. He's taken time out of settling into his new house to speak to us. So first of all, thanks for that, Ed. Really appreciate it.
That's right.
Secondly, I'd like you guys to unmute your cameras for me, please, guys.
Yeah.
And then let's do a good old-fashioned clap. And thank you very much for Ed.
Cheers, guys. If there's anything, I know it can be quite personal about swimming. So if there's anything you guys want to ask that you might not want to ask in front of everyone, just drop me a message on Instagram or Twitter or something like that, and I'll message you back, because I know sometimes you don't want to ask things in front of all your friends.
Brilliant, brilliant. Ed, thanks for your time, and team, thank you for your time. If you could take yourself out of the call now, and then I'll end the call for everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Ben.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Right, lads.